everybody. Welcome to Fancy Lady Talks.
Come for the boobs.
Stay for the brains.
And you're going to want to stay tuned because we have a 3-part series on boundaries and healthy dating, how to set them, why they're hard to set. We're going to talk about boundary setting and dating, boundary setting and having sex. So stay tuned. This is part 1 in our series.
And today we're just focusing on just how to set boundaries.
Yeah, so why are boundaries so challenging?
Holy moly, why are boundaries so challenging? I think because many of us didn't learn how to set boundaries in our childhood, and often our boundaries were not respected.
So true.
We were not taught that we were allowed to have any boundaries.
Yeah, it's true. And when I work with clients, I talk about boundaries are connected to our needs, right? And so many of us have been taught that our needs are not important, right? Or that our needs should just be ignored. We shouldn't ask for our needs to be met. So I think that just naturally relates to boundary setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting too, if you think about this is just shifting right now, but I think a really great example of how we are groomed not to set healthy boundaries is the way children are encouraged to hug and kiss people and interact with people who are adults that they don't know.
That's
and that they
so
have
true.
deep discomfort around connecting with.
Mm-hmm. I think the school system actually naturally discourages boundary setting. Like, you're not allowed to say no.
No.
You're forced to say sorry even if you don't want to, or if you didn't do anything.
You're not allowed to listen to your body.
Nope. You have to just sit still.
Sit still. You can't go to the bathroom necessarily. I know we were just talking about this with my daughter. In high school, running was really uncomfortable for her. It wasn't good for her body. Mm-hmm. And so I told her, tell your PE teacher that, you're not going to run around the track. This is not something your body does. And she told him, and he wouldn't listen to her. So I sent him a message saying, Anya has said such and such, and can she do something else? She's absolutely willing to take part in gym, but can she be doing skip rope or something that works for her body instead? And he replied to me that no, she wasn't a high enough authority to get her out of running. So I was like, hold on there. If she's not a high enough authority about her own body, I will set that boundary.
Exactly.
And I also reiterated to him, and I CC'd the principal and was like, my daughter is the only authority about what is right for her body.
Beautiful.
You should not be looking to anybody else to tell you. But Keith, in fact, right there about how we're not encouraged as young people to set boundaries, or to even when we're experiencing them, we're told that that's wrong.
That's right. Or, just suck it up, or just pretend, or, make people happy, please others.
Yeah.
So I think, for me, when I started figuring out about boundaries, like about why are they so hard to set, I realized they're so hard to set because I'd been trained to not set boundaries, it's actually dangerous for me to set boundaries.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what is the consequence of setting a boundary.
Exactly.
And what do we think is the consequence of setting a boundary?
So in reality, setting a boundary is about creating a safe, environment for ourselves and for others also, right?
Because then they know how to interact with us,
yeah.
Right? They have a little red light, green light, yellow light situation where we're like, yes, come in this way. I'm giving you a green light because that feels good to me. Oh, yellow light, slow down. No, red light, that's a no. I don't like it. And if you don't have that, can you imagine the shit show? Yes, you can, because you're all fucking living it, as we are. The shit show that goes on.
Yes.
Right? And if you're trained to not even know that red light, yellow light, green light situation, you don't even know, and somebody's all up in your boundaries, and you're feeling awful, and then you explode, or you have some type of reaction that's really big, and you don't know where it came from, and they don't know where it came from.
Yeah, so I mean, from my family of origin, I was punished for saying no. So go to your room, or don't say no to me, or, anything like that. So I learned to be terrified, or that I would lose love, or that I would be punished if I set a boundary. So my nervous system actually registered that, right? So it was outside of my conscious awareness that saying no was dangerous.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's a lot of us, right?
I think there has been a lot of love connected to whether you set a boundary or not.
That's true.
And that if you set a boundary, somebody's going to withhold love or privilege in some way from you.
It's true. It's so true.
Right?
And that's how we get into the people pleasing and the fawn response, is that we override our nervous system response. We override our bodies.
Yeah.
And we say yes because we think that's what we need to do to get love, to get approval.
Even to get success, if you think going, later into school or going into the workforce, if I set a boundary about like my time availability or actually what I can do or how far I can push myself, I am not going to get that golden carrot. I'm not going to get promoted to the next level. And people are, really encouraged, and they get incentives for not listening or having any boundaries.
Oh my goodness. And then you think about what's happening with COVID right now, where people are now working out of their homes, right? So we have even less boundaries, right? Like you can work more, you can work longer hours. People can actually like now come inside your house really virtually, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's the capitalistic society of productivity first, I think, encourages a lack of boundaries. So
absolutely,
everything works against us when it comes to setting boundaries. So if you're having a hard time with boundaries, I mean, that's normal. Like
join the club.
Yeah, we're all having that experience, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think, let's talk a little bit before we get into how we can actually start to set these boundaries. Let's talk about what it feels like. How do you know? Like if you've not been trained to actually even acknowledge in your body or in your mind what your healthy boundaries are, how would you know now as an adult?
I mean, that's the thing that I work with clients on, right? It's like everybody has a different response. Yeah. So I think you have to be able to sense, have a felt sense. Your body's going to tell you most of the time when you need to set a boundary. So for me, I start feeling really anxious. I start feeling fear, anxiety. Sometimes I actually get this feeling of like not even being inside my body.
Yeah.
Anger and resentment is a very good sign that there's a boundary that needs to be set.
Yep, so true. And I would agree with Marissa. Like if you're really wondering about setting boundaries, go to your body first, and you're gonna feel at the very least uncomfortable.
Comfortable.
Right? Start to notice what situations you feel uncomfortable in, and then kind of see how things progress from there, and start to think in your mind, what are situations in my past where I felt deeply uncomfortable that then led into a state where I was like, oh, I know that person pushed my boundaries, or I felt taken advantage of afterwards, right? Because there's a couple things that happen. Like you can have people who are normally trying to take advantage of you, but I think what happens most of the time is you have two people who don't know a lot about boundaries trying to interact. This is most of us trying to interact in our world, right? And then there's one person who is like, I don't even know what the fuck my boundaries are, so I'm not setting them. The other person is like, I'm just walking into this wide open path of no boundaries.
That's right.
Right? And then the first person's like, holy shit, you've done something that really hurts me.
That's right.
And it's at that point that they know that their boundary has been crossed. And for the other person, it's at that point that they know they've crossed a boundary.
Exactly. And I mean, if you look at like codependency, and I mean, this is how people get into abusive relationships, right?
Yeah.
Is not having a felt sense of when something is a no in our body.
And I think that's so deeply important. So it might be fine, but stop. When your body is feeling some discomfort and you're in a situation, stop. Take a pause.
Take a breath.
Take a breath. Maybe even take a day or a few days and be like, until I have a sense of what this is, I'm not proceeding forward. And you can let the other person know or not, and that you can just be like, I need to just take a little step back.
I did that recently. Like I had to set a boundary, and I actually had to take a couple days to even figure out what it was and why.
Yeah.
Like I had to talk about it with you and be like, what is it that's happening here that's making me feel so uncomfortable? And then I could set the boundary, but it took a while. Even for me, like I've been working on this for quite a few years now. So it takes practice. And it takes time, and it takes knowing that you're going to make mistakes. Like, you're going to be like, damn it. Like, so what I see people doing sometimes when they're first setting out is setting really firm boundaries. Like
they're making walls.
Yeah, they're building walls.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm saying no to everybody. And like, I think that's part of the process. Like, we need to do that for a little while. But if we stay in the wall area, like, that's not healthy boundaries either, right?
No, totally. And it doesn't invite intimacy.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
In the end, it keeps people out. But I think as you're learning, it is important that we learn how to set those strong boundaries. And my son was doing this as he was learning how to set some boundaries just recently, as he's been doing some healing in his own life. And so, as like one of the safest people in his life, he was setting all the boundaries with me. And he was like, no, I won't turn off that light. I'm just going to bed. No, I'm not going to carry that turkey down the stairs, Mom, because I don't have to. I don't even need to give you a reason. It's just a no. No is enough. And I'd be like, And then we finally had a little blow up about it, because I was like, you can't just set arbitrary boundaries. I have my own boundaries. So we're going to have to talk and work this out, and both feeling comfortable with each other's boundaries rather than have arbitrary boundary. Right? And that's as you get more comfortable, then you can kind of figure it out.
I mean, I think that's great. That's, working with the safest person in your life first is a really great place to start with boundaries. I always tell people, start with the smallest boundaries, the most insignificant ones first, like really small, like turning off a light, and practice, because our nervous system's going to get fired up right away, like we might experience intense fear. We might experience honestly, at first when I started setting boundaries, my body response was, I am going to die. That was the response. And you know why? Like in my dating life previously, when I set boundaries with people, they would stalk me.
Yeah.
They would not leave me alone. They would harass me. They would become abusive. So I learned that I actually couldn't say no to people.
It wasn't safe.
Yeah, it actually wasn't safe, right?
Yeah.
So I had to convince my nervous system really gently, no, it's okay, it's safe. It's safe to say no. Yeah. It's okay. And that was really challenging for quite a while, like retraining our nervous systems.
Totally. And I think, as you were saying, that's why we need to start in the safest place and then move into the areas that were more triggered.
Yeah.
Right? Because in a safe place, you're going to feel discomfort.
Yes.
Right? You're going to be like, ooh, this feels a little, but I know this is safe. This is a safe person. This is a safe interaction. So I know I'm going to get a good, and I can even say, hey, I'm setting this boundary and I feel really uncomfortable.
Exactly.
I remember I was actually just thinking back to my first business, and as we were ending it, we were able to end it really amicably. And it was a really beautiful business interaction. And I remember at the very end, my business partner had some things to say and some things she wanted from our business very reasonably. And she said to me, because I'm more of a fiery, forceful personality.
No.
And she said, it's really hard for me to set this boundary, but I need to tell you that these are the things I need leaving our business. And I, despite being young and immature and fiery, because I was very young at that time, I was able to hear that. She led me into what she needed me to do for her, and I was able to respect her boundary. And thank goodness, because otherwise I wouldn't have known it was there. I was not in a feeling set place where I could have felt that out on my own. I would have just rushed through like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
And it probably wouldn't have ended well. Right? So going to that place, and we'd had a friendship already, so there was some safety there. So starting in a place where you feel safe to set those boundaries, and then moving into the more deeply triggered areas, like in dating. Yeah. Or in the bedroom, which is why
family relationships.
Or in the family relationships, which is why those are other videos by themselves.
Those are hard ones.
We're talking general boundary setting today.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love this topic. I think it's really juicy. We have a couple more videos where we want to talk to you more about, how do we do it? How do we do it in dating? How do we do it in sex? So I can't wait to talk about it more.
So before we leave them, what would you say? We've talked about like listening to your body, taking a pause. Do you have 2 more tips? Do you think we can drum up 2 more tips?
So start with a safe person or situation first.
Yeah.
I get people to think about what need is this connected to. So if we're feeling so we stop, we feel in our body that something's off, like either we have a stress response or a trauma response. then I get my clients to ask what need is here for me, what need is present. So is it a need for space? Is it a need for privacy? Is it a need for love? Like
Connection.
Is it a connection, intimacy? Ask yourself about the need, because the need will be connected to the boundary later, and we'll talk to you about that next video. So yeah, connected to a need, and then I think talking about it with somebody else as well.
Debriefing.
Debriefing.
Yeah, or pre-briefing, I guess, if you haven't even said it yet.
Yeah. And then I have a really good 3-step way to set a boundary. We can talk about that next time as well.
I love it. So there you go. Get started, guys. Start setting those healthy boundaries, but in baby steps with your, in your healthy, safe relationships and situations.
And a good way to start is, while you wait for our next video, is you could do a little journaling about where in the past have I not set boundaries with people, and how did I know that I needed to set the boundaries?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's brilliant.
Well, click like, click subscribe. We have great content coming out.
And I got a free gift down there for you. Also, you can join my Facebook group, Rosie's Magic Land, which is a little bit more geared towards sexiness and body love, but you know what? You're going to love it too. And Marissa's actually in there.
I am.
As a participant, so you're going to see all her sexiness in there too.
I can't wait to see you there.
Love you. Bye.